I'm Joe-Lewkowicz with Coldwell Banker Realty, and this is our monthly live stream. This is the very first month. It's January 2019, and just going to give you a quick overview of the market in Northwest Tampa. Also, what I predict is happening, and then I'm going to answer a bunch of questions that may be coming in. And we do this every month, so feel free to email me or type in asking questions as we go. Overall, the market for Northwest Tampa is going to be affected by the current interest rates. Now, rates have been going up, but the Fed has indicated that they're softening on that. So right now, interest rates are running at about 4.5%. Now, compare that with December and January of a year ago, where they were running at about 3.75% to 4%. So we've had about a 0.5% increase, which has put a little bit of a damper on the market. But with the rates having dropped, I mean, they've almost gotten to 5%. The rates having dropped down to 4.5%, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association, the applications for mortgages were up 13% last month, year over year, which is really good, or month over month, which is really good, and about 0.5% down from year over year, but that's still really good. A lot of people are still refinancing because the rates came down for a little bit, so they're doing that before they anticipate rates going up. The overall market is kind of like Wall Street. It's very volatile, so that does affect the real estate market a little bit. Now is a very good time to buy a house, and the reason I say that is a lot of the people who didn't do what they should have done last year are really ready to do it now. There's still a lot of hangover, and what's happening a lot is that because the market had been going up so much year after year, a lot of people selling it thought, I will get this much more money out of the house. Now, because the interest rates have gone up, the buyers are being a lot pickier about what they're willing to do, so the prices are slowly starting to moderate. I anticipate this year maybe a 3 to 4% increase in price. We've been doing in some areas double digits, especially areas around the beach, South Tampa. But in Northwest Tampa, we've been running from maybe a high of 8%, 9% appreciation a year to, as you're into Pasco County, 4 to 5%. I anticipate that being from anywhere from 2% in some areas of Pasco County to like 5 or 6% up in the Northwest area. So that gives you kind of an overview of the market. Good time to buy a house. The market will really be heating up for people selling come March, April, May, June, July. Those are usually our best months. And if the interest rates don't move, look for it to be a very strong year again for home sales. So with that, let's see if any questions are coming in. And okay, so will the government shutdown affect the real estate market? Well, I'm not 100% sure, but certain things may affect it. Flood insurance may be one of the things affected by that, because that is a government program. And there was some talk of where they were not going to be renewing policies or not giving policies. So if you're trying to buy a house and you're in a flood zone and you can't get a mortgage without flood insurance, that will definitely affect it. Also, FHA insurance may be affected. So in other words, if you're buying a house for around $300,000, a lot of people go with FHA financing because you can get in with a 3.5% down payment, but you've got to get FHA insurance for that loan, and supposedly they're not funding. So those are just a couple of the things that will affect it. There's a lot of other things, and we'll see. Right now we are still, I think it's our 27th day of the shutdown today, and hopefully they'll get it over with at some point. See if there's another question coming up. How does the market look currently in January 2019 to January 2018? The market is a little more stable. There's a little bit more inventory, and I'm going to say by about 5% more inventory this year than there was last year at this time. The properties, the interest rates, as I said before, are running at about 0.5% to 0.75% higher than they were last year at this time. So last year in January, there was a huge movement to buy houses before the rates went up. I don't think people are quite in that big of a hurry right now, although there are quite a few sales being made. So still a good time to sell a house, really good time to buy a place. Next question coming up. Oh, should I be worried about scams when looking at online listings? What are some signs that they may be scams? Well, on any scam, as far as I know, don't ever give your personal information. The biggest sites are realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia, our own site, coldwellbanker.com. You can get very valuable information, and they're not going to ask you for social security numbers. They may ask you for your email address. Go to trusted sites and do that. But if you any of the other smaller sites, that's the ones that I would be worried about a little bit. And if they ask you for anything more personal than your email address, and you may not want to give that, but anything more personal than that, I would worry about. If they have a real estate agent's name, phone number, you email them directly and contact them, or you can just email me at joeluke@me.com. So next question. What are mortgage points, discount points, and what do they do? Okay, so mortgage points, right now the interest rate's 4.5%. Points are charged by the lender that helps them pick up a little bit more in interest. So in other words, like if the rate was 4.75%, they might charge no points at all. At 4.5%, they might charge one point up front. So in other words, they would be getting $2,000 upfront money, which makes their return the same. And you can pay more in points to lower your interest rate, and sometimes you may want to do that. But remember, depending on your tax level, a lot of the interest that you have will be tax deductible up to a certain threshold limit. Next question. Are single women a rising factor in the housing market? I have several homes for sale that are owned by single women. I don't know the complete demographics for the younger single women that are buying these. Happen to be, people in their 50s. So I can't really, not effective enough to answer that question. So, and any other questions coming in? Oh, what advice do you have for single income families when buying a house? Okay, my advice always, talk to a mortgage broker first and set a budget. Okay, so in other words, like let's say that you're looking at, you've got $50,000 coming in, all right, which is roughly going to be $4,000, $4,200 a month coming in as far as income. The standard that a mortgage broker is going to say is that you shouldn't have more than 35 to 38% of outgoing every month as your debt. So in other words, at $4,200 a month, take 38% of that, and that's the most you should have for car payments and mortgage payments. So that's kind of your set budget, but talk to a mortgage broker to give you a better idea. Some loans will give you up to 50%, and a lot depends. If you're in a job that as a single earner, but maybe your wife's going to go back to work in 2 years or 3 years, or maybe your income's going to rise, you can take a little more risk. If you're pretty well set, like if you're making $50,000 a year and next year you might make 52 and the next year you might make 53, then you need to be a little bit more conservative, and that's where a mortgage broker can help you out there. And let me see. When is it too soon to be looking at houses if you don't plan on buying right away? Well, buying right away is a relative statement, okay? So in my opinion, if you're going to be buying during the summertime, let's say May, June, July, and you want to start looking at houses now would not be a bad time. Matter of fact, most people, this is the start of what I call the relocation season. Corporations that transfer people are sending people on their buying trips at this time of year. People will come down in late January, February, and early March to check out the area. Number one, they may decide, are they actually taking the transfer if they have that option or not? Number two, they want to check out where in the area they want to live. Do they want to live in Northwest Tampa? Do they want to live in Brandon? Do they want to live in Pinellas County, et cetera, et cetera? What are the values? What are the schools? They're kind of doing all that looking. Then they're probably, relocation, they're probably going to be buying houses come April, May, and June. Okay, almost everybody relocated, especially if they have kids, all wants to get settled for summertime, for school starting. So kind of keep that in mind. And that's one reason I say it's a good time to buy a house now, because you won't be getting into that rush of people doing that who are being transferred. Okay, so, but the only problem with looking at houses right now, you have to get a general idea, because houses, if they're priced right, aren't the ones that are here today in January will not be here in April and May. So you're not going to be able to buy that one particular house. Let's see if there's one or two more questions. How do I build my credit to buy a house? Again, talk to a mortgage broker. They can help you with what you need to do. I'm not a great credit counselor. I mean, that's not what I do. Pay off debts, but give a mortgage broker, and again, my email address is joelewk@me.com. That's joeluke@me.com. Feel free to email me, and I've got the name of a couple of mortgage brokers that can help you. They can give you a very good idea of what you can expect. Last question coming up. What are the pros and cons to paying in all cash? Well, okay, so I get a lot of all cash offers. Some of them are not really all cash. The pro of it is that generally a seller will like your deal better. In other words, let's say that you're buying a house for $300,000 and you're saying I'm paying all cash and everybody else is going in with 5% as a down payment. You're going to look at the all cash bid better. Now, that doesn't mean you have to pay all cash. That means that the way the contracts, most of the contracts are written, is you're guaranteeing that you will be buying this house whether you got a loan or not. So in other words, if you put, to me, from an offer point of view on this $300,000 house, if I'm paying all cash, I would put a $15,000 deposit, make it contingent on the home inspection, and after that period, you're going to lose the $15,000, but the sellers are going to really pay attention to your offer versus anybody else, because they know you won't have a problem getting the loan. Now, if you still have to get a loan, that's fine, but you're going to lose $15,000 if you don't get that. The pro is you're liable to have a better negotiating position. The con is you're tying up $300,000 in cash if you really want to do that. Now, you also won't have any interest deductions. So, you know, if tax and interest is a portion of you, or if you can make a high, like the interest rate right now for a house is 4.5%. If you can make more than a 5% return on your money by putting it someplace else that's relatively risk-free, do it. Okay, especially if you can make 7 or 8%. So in other words, if you said, I'm buying a house for $300,000, I'm going to use all cash, but I could have taken $200,000 and I know of a good investment that's making me 10%, don't buy all cash. So that would be the biggest thing that I could tell you. Well, that's all the time we have for today. And again, we do this every month. A live stream, feel free to email me some questions. I'm happy to answer that. If you want to get the name of a mortgage broker, happy to do that too. And again, my name's Joe Lewkowicz. I'm with Coldwell Banker. And remember that no one works harder to sell your home.